My name is Dave Tran, and this is LuxTV, shedding and spreading light for the chiropractic student. We have chiropractor Dr. Christopher Kent in Ramsey, New Jersey. Dr. Christopher graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic in 1973. He's the co-founder of On Purpose and president of the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation. Dr. Kent, welcome to LuxTV.
Thank you, Dave. I think this is really going to be a fun thing.
I think so too. So let's get straight to it. So how did you get your start in chiropractic?
Well, it's really very interesting. I had always wanted to be some kind of doctor. I knew I wanted a career that would help people to fulfill their potential, that I was really about human empowerment, and I wanted to find a way to do that. So I did my due diligence. I looked at, I knew I really didn't want to do medicine. Dentistry, kind of yucky. Podiatry, more so. Optometry, too boring. So I kind of narrowed it down to osteopathy, chiropractic, and naturopathy. And osteopathy, I found, was essentially conventional medicine, at least at that point in its development. And naturopaths weren't licensed in very many jurisdictions, so that left chiropractic. So I said, well, I've got to find out a little bit more about this. And it was kind of interesting. I was about 16 years old, and coincidentally, a friend of mine had been encouraging me to see a chiropractor because many of his health issues had resolved, and he thought this would be a benefit to me as well. So I asked my mother, who worked at a medical college, what a chiropractor was. And this scowl came over her face, and she said, a chiropractor? Why, that's someone who cracks your bones. And I said, wait a minute, cracks your bones? You mean they fracture? And she said, I guess they must. You can hear them snap. I've seen it done. So now I had a serious contradiction to resolve in that my friend, who was ambulatory and seemingly rational, was encouraging me to see a chiropractor. And my mother's talking about iatrogenic fractures. So I said, how can I resolve this without risking life and limb? And I came up with kind of a ruse. I located a nearby chiropractor, called him, and said that I was doing a report for school. And I asked if I could come to interview him. And he said, sure, come on over. So I went to visit an office, and he immediately admitted me to his inner sanctum, and he said, okay, go ahead, ask your questions. And I asked him that question we've all been asked so many times, and his response is still probably the most concise and elegant I've ever heard. And the question was simply, what is it that chiropractors do? And he said, chiropractic is based on 4 simple concepts. The first is that the body is a self-healing mechanism. If you cut your finger, it heals. If you cut the finger of a corpse, it doesn't. It's life that heals. He said, second, the nervous system is the master system of the body. Every dimension of the human experience is processed through the nervous system. He said, third, when there's interference with the function of the nervous system, not only can it compromise your physical well-being, but because it distorts your perception of the world and limits your ability to appropriately respond to the environment, it can have psycho-emotional consequences as well. And when that happens to a significant number of people in a society, you have a sick society. And he said, fourth, he said, what I do as a chiropractor is locate and correct the cause of that interference. And I had goosebumps then. I still do now. I don't know how many times I've told that story. But there was no question at that point that I had to become a patient. And shortly thereafter, he said, I think you should become a chiropractor. And I said, well, yes, I've been thinking about that myself. And he said, let me make a phone call. So he made a phone call to Palmer. And a lot of people say, well, why did you go to Palmer? Why didn't you go to Life or Sherman or Life West? And the answer is simply they didn't exist then. And Palmer was, at that time, the fountainhead of philosophical chiropractic. And he said they got a class starting in July. I think this was around June. He said, you want to go? And I said, sure. And he said, okay, and done. And the next thing I knew, I was headed to the People's Republic of Davenport.
Oh, that's great.
So that's how I got into chiropractic.
Well, there you have it. So, that's how we increase the enrollment at all the schools. We just write down what you just exactly said and just share with everybody. So, I know that you are the president of the Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation. So that does a lot of chiropractic research that's based on vertebral subluxation. So what does chiropractic research really mean to you?
Well, to me it's very important because, first of all, it helps to answer clinical questions, and I think that's key. The technology that we have in chiropractic is really rather primitive compared to our philosophy. We're still using technologies, for the most part, that were developed decades ago, and although we have many outstanding clinical anecdotes and case studies and a wealth of clinical experience and patient satisfaction that's second to none, we still have a paucity of information demonstrating that there are measurable changes in health outcomes as a result of chiropractic care. So the Foundation's come up with a research agenda, and the first thing really that we're concerned with is looking at this thing we call the vertebral subluxation, defining it operationally, and looking at what technologies we have available to objectively measure components of it. And the good news is we do have reliable and valid technologies to look at things like spinal biomechanics. There are a number of X-ray analysis systems that have been very well studied. In fact, there are the PCCRP, Practicing Chiropractors Committee for Radiology Protocols Guidelines. I was on that committee. Deed Harrison chaired it. And we have created a clinical practice guideline that reviews that literature and that supports the use of spinography or X-ray mensuration for the assessment of that biomechanical component. There are a number of systems of postural analysis that have been shown to be reliable and valid. And then we can look at the neurological component. Skin temperature instrumentation was used way back when in the B.J. Palmer Clinic, and today we have much better ways of doing that and of computer analyzing the outcome and recording it and so forth. We can look at autonomic function, specifically sympathetic activity, using that technology. And we can also look at somatic activity through surface electromyography. We're actually quantitating the tone of the muscles and giving us detail that's simply not available with palpation. We have other technologies like heart rate variability, which has the potential of showing us what an individual's adaptive capacity is, how effectively the sympathetic and parasympathetic systems are working together, if they're balanced, and we're looking at the output of an end organ and its ability to adapt that's not directly connected to the spine, which is kind of exciting. In other words, we can look at the global effect of that. We're also very interested in looking at health outcomes. There are quality of life scales such as the SF-36, which have been shown to be reliable and valid. And one of the things we want to do is operationally define the subluxation, determine how we can assess these various components, and how they relate to measurable health outcomes. There's also some exciting basic science stuff. We did a small study that suggests that the ability of the body to handle oxidative stress and the ability of the body to repair DNA damage is improved with chiropractic care. So to me, that's a very exciting thing. And it shows, again, that there are measurable changes in function that are pretty well accepted by the scientific community that can be used with chiropractic. I've just been reading some material about how cost-effective chiropractic care is, not just for musculoskeletal conditions, but the global impact that it has on overall healthcare costs, which, needless to say, is a big issue today. If we can demonstrate that chiropractic can significantly save healthcare costs and the preliminary studies show that it does so in a rather spectacular way, I think we're in a position to approach policymakers and get chiropractic to the people. So the key is to use experimental designs that are appropriate for what we're trying to do. And to that extent, we have to realize that there are serious limitations in the randomized controlled trial, that we can't do a randomized controlled trial for every disease in the Merck manual using every conceivable chiropractic technique that's out there. But what we can do is come up with an operational definition so that we can objectively determine whether or not there's been a favorable change in function and structure as a result of a given type of adjustment. We can see what impact that's having on the health of the individual, and we can also use some of the experimental designs that are borrowed from the social and financial sectors, looking at things like cost effectiveness. So I think the future of chiropractic is immensely rich in clinical promise, and I'm very excited about getting even deeper in my involvement in unraveling this thing we call the vertebral subluxation and its impact on the totality of the human experience.
And that is so much exciting information, and I'll definitely add all the links to all the websites below for sure. So lastly, what is your greatest advice you could give to a chiropractic student?
Find a mentor. It's very important that you have someone that you can talk to who shares your views of chiropractic, who has experience, who can guide you through this process of transitioning from student to practicing chiropractor, and who can kind of help you to focus so that this hazing that we call chiropractic education doesn't derail you from your true objective of becoming an effective doctor of chiropractic.
That's wonderful advice, and thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Sure.
If you want more information or want to connect with Dr. Kent directly, check out the links below. Every week, I will be uploading a new interview with another giant in the chiropractic profession. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your classmates, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. My name is Dave Tran, and this was LuxTV, shedding and spreading light.